In this video, I'm going to be talking about blockchain technology and will it change the world? Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to talk about some of the key technologies that blockchain can enable that would actually change the world potentially. Before getting started, I want to make sure that we understand the differentiation between blockchain and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that is built on the blockchain technology. Unfortunately, very often Bitcoin and blockchain are confused with one another. Mainly because Bitcoin is probably the most recognized application of blockchain, and blockchain is used in so many different ways. Some of them are not sexy at all. Some of these applications are very kind of like network, making sure there's no loss of signal, making sure that data packets have the right, have no loss and all that kind of stuff. These are not very good application for, well, they're a good application for blockchain, but they're not very sexy. Bitcoin is probably the sexiest one and probably the one that has gained the most recognition in the world, and this is why it kind of conflated Bitcoin with blockchain. But I want to separate that in this video and really explore a little bit more in depth what blockchain has to offer and how it can actually change the world and how we live. Blockchain was basically created to solve one problem, one fundamental problem. It was a question of trust between two parties who want to do a transaction or exchange information. How do I trust the information that the other party is providing? How do they trust my response to their question or to their request? That is the fundamental problem. Often this problem is referred to as the Byzantine problem, where you have a bunch of generals that have to communicate or coordinate their activities in order to invade a city. How do they do that and prevent people from intercepting the message and all of that? How do they trust the message that is being provided by all the other generals on the field? So that was the basic principle and the basic problem that we are trying to solve with blockchain technology. So whenever you're in a situation, in a transaction, when there is this trust issue, you have to deal with another party and they don't have the, you don't trust them, you don't know them, and then vice versa, they don't know you either, then this is where this technology could apply. A good example of that would be, let's say you want to buy my book, or somebody wants to buy my book. Well, they want to know that I do have a book. So I can provide them a link, let's say so blockchain would actually provide them a link or would contain the book itself, and we show, hey, this is the book, yeah, these are the pages, and I validate that the book is an authentic book and all of that, an electronic book, etc. So that the other party that wants, the buyer of the book, they know that this is a valid book that they're buying. On my side, before giving the book away, I want to make sure that the person has the money and intends to pay for the book. So the blockchain can actually help make sure that this person, I don't need to know the person, I just need to know that that person has the money and then that they can buy the book. The transaction can occur through blockchain where the book, the ebook, is transferred to the buyer and the money is transferred to my account. But in real world, we also have examples like that where we have a middle person that is involved in many transactions. So we have that, for example, in real estate, where we have an escrow company that has the buyer and the seller, and then they basically are providing the information that they need to the escrow company, and the escrow company has specific instructions on how to complete the transaction and under what condition they can complete the transaction. Blockchain would basically replace the need for the escrow, because I would provide the title as the seller of the property, I would provide the inspection report, I would provide a number of things to fill in the condition. The buyer on the other side would provide the funds, would ensure that would would confirm that they have reviewed the inspection and they accept the property in its current condition. Once all the steps are done in blockchain, then the transaction can actually occur and then the title could be transferred. Of course, this is not happening today, but this would be a very good application of blockchain technology, assuming that all the different partners that are needed for the transaction to happen have access to that blockchain. And the reason why this technology is able to do this is that they have a ledger, a public ledger, basically a book that contains all the transactions, and then where you can see that this person has $10 for the book because you've tracked all the transaction, you have the whole transaction history, and you know that at the end this person has $10 available to buy the book. Similarly with a house, we can see all the transaction, all the history of the title of the company, and confirms that I do actually own this particular house in Cleveland and that I'm able to transfer it, I'm authorized to transfer and sign on the deed to transfer the ownership to the new buyer. Vice versa with the buyer having the money, the funds to buy the property. So all of that is basically published in a public ledger. Sometimes it could be also a private ledger, but basically a ledger that's available to anyone that needs to see it. And this is a little bit of the differentiation here, is that Bitcoin is actually a public blockchain technology. A lot of the people that are using Bitcoin are not users. They don't have to register with anybody. They can just create a wallet, a number account, and basically start putting money in it, start transacting with other people that have wallets also on Bitcoin. And that is a good in itself to have a public ledger and a public blockchain technology, but it also prevents Bitcoin, in my opinion, to go broader, because it has to, in order to validate each blocks in the chain, the miners have to basically package this together. So many miners are assembling a bunch of transactions, and they are solving a very complex math problems before being able to add it to the chain, and then everybody confirms and verifies that yes, this block is valid, and then it gets added to the chain. This takes time, and it could take between 10 and 60 minutes for that transaction from that block to actually be validated and added to the chain. So this is a little bit of a problem. It also requires a lot of energy in order to do this. There's tons of computers, thousands of computers all over the world that are using a lot of electricity, and we're actually talking about the amount of electricity that these computers create in order to solve these problems and win the race to validate that particular block of transaction. On the other hand, we're not really even using the Bitcoin really as a means of exchange. We're not really buying that many, we're not using it for that many transactions yet. Only 1% of the transactions are for actually purchasing goods and services. Imagine a time when this is an actual currency and it's used all the time. That means much more blocks that need to be created, much more computer time, electricity, and energy that needs to be devoted for blockchain, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem. And for these reasons, I believe that Bitcoin is going to have an uphill battle in order to be recognized as the worldwide currency that everybody is talking about. So instead of a public blockchain technology, you could use a private blockchain technology where people are registered users, they have their account number, and they are able to do transactions with that cryptocurrency. So this is a very interesting application. It also removes the need to have this big math problems that need to be solved every time, because non-public ledgers only public to the people in the network, so they would be trusted ledger that then could not be they would be owned by the network. So you don't need to have that big slow math problem that need to be resolved for every block of transaction. It could be done much faster. So what kind of private network would I be talking about where we can implement a private blockchain technology? Well, the obvious one are the banks. You already are registered with the banks, you already have accounts with the banks. They could use blockchain technology, and many of them are investigating the use of blockchain technology to assist with the transactions and facilitate the transaction and validate the transaction between banks and across borders. So this would be much more efficient than the current kind of SWIFT network that is very slow, and also the bank-to-bank network that's also very slow. Right now, you do an ACH deposit from one bank to another. It takes 3 to 5 days for that to happen, for actually the account to be credited. This is unbelievable that it's in this day and age we still have to wait 3 to 5 days for the account to be credited on the receiver end. It doesn't make any sense. With blockchain technology, this could be instantaneous. You wouldn't even have to wait the 10 and 16 minutes that you have to wait for Bitcoin to be validated. This could be done almost instantaneously because it would be a private blockchain. The ledger would be owned and operated by the network, and then we could do these transactions very quickly and very safely. But there are also other groups right now that are not using cryptocurrency, but they're talking about it. There's a group of users that do transactions. I imagine Facebook, for example, is creating its own cryptocurrency that they call Libra. It's supposed to be released in 2021. We'll see what happens. But this is a very good application. Again, registered users, you can have Libra as a private cryptocurrency, a private blockchain technology with known ledgers owned and operated by the network, by Facebook. These transactions would happen on Facebook Marketplace, or when you send money between parties using Facebook messengers and stuff like that. So this would be very valid application. And of course, Amazon. I didn't hear anything about Amazon actually creating their own cryptocurrency, but this is something that would make a lot of sense for them to do. So again, private blockchain technology could be used here to enable these transactions and verify them, and then put that in the private ledger that's in the network that's owned and operated by Amazon. And finally, these cryptocurrencies could be used for purchasing goods and services. So these would now be used as real cryptocurrencies, and also enable these Amazon to retain a lot of their customers in the platform for doing these kinds of transactions. So I think these are kind of very good applications, I think, for cryptocurrencies, and I'm looking forward to seeing them being launched very soon. Central banks are also looking at doing their own cryptocurrencies, and here I'm talking like Federal Reserves here, or Central Bank of England, all of that. So doing their own cryptocurrency instead of using like paper money. We also have countries like Russia with the crypto ruble. We have Venezuela with the petro, and they're not part right now of the network of other banks. So in international banking, they're kind of left aside. When Venezuela created the petro, they were hoping to kind of like bypass a lot of these banking regulations in order to get funding for their country. So they're hoping that this will help actually other people to fund projects and businesses in their country. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something about blockchain technology and how it can be used in the future. If you like this video, and if you like anything about wealth building, financial freedom, investment, and money, make sure you watch the rest of the videos on my channel. Don't forget to click that like button. The YouTube algorithm really likes it, and it distributes then my video to a lot more viewers. Thank you very much.